My name is MOREH ISHIYAH Yisrael from the House of Israel in Cincinnati, Ohio, 2330 Kemper Lane, bringing to you in 40 minutes or less. In 40 minutes or less, I will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt the word of Yahweh. Who is this Yahweh? Yahweh is the creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein. Yahweh is the Elohim of our fathers, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yisrael, whom you may know as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yahweh is our judge. Yahweh is our lawgiver. Yahweh is our king, who will save us. Shalom. Today's program of 40 minutes or less, we will deal with part 2 of the Old Testament versus the New Testament, Isaiah 53. In dealing with Isaiah 53, we will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt 3 things. Number 1, we will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that it is not speaking of an individual, period. Although the New Testament, many of the Christians teach that this is speaking about Christ of the New Testament, an individual, we will prove that it's not speaking of an individual at all. Number 2, we also will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Isaiah 53 is speaking of the children of Israel, the nation of Israel, but not just the nation of Israel. We will prove that it's speaking of a special elect seed called Yahweh's righteous servant. And number 3, we will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Christ was never called Yahweh's righteous servant. As a matter of fact, he wasn't even called a servant, period. All through the New Testament. Although Moses was called the servant of Elohim, King David was called the servant of Elohim. And all through the scriptures, even many places in the New Testament, this is exactly what the righteous was called. The servant of Elohim. Not so with Christ. We're going to read Isaiah 53. It's only 12 verses. And all through the Holy Scriptures, 12 represents the children of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel. We will read it, and then we will prove what this chapter is speaking of in Old Testament versus New Testament, part 2. Isaiah 53, starting at the very first verse. This is what it says. Who have believed our report? And to whom is the arm of Yahweh revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of a dry ground. He have no form nor comeliness. And when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief, and we hid as it were our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he hath borne our grief and carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of Elohim, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgression. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and Yahweh have laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed. He was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shears is dumb. So he opened it not his mouth. He have taken from prison and from judgment. Who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living. For the transgression of my people was he stricken. And he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, because he have done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it pleased Yahweh to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed. He shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of Yahweh shall prosper in his hand. He shall see the travail of his soul, and shall be satisfied. By his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities. Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great. He shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death. He was numbered with the transgressors, and he bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressions. Hallelujah. Now we will go and explain these verses. As stated before, this is not talking about an individual at all. Nowhere in this chapter will indicate an individual, not the name of an individual or one person at all, because if this chapter is indeed talking about Yahweh's suffering servant, all Yahweh servants, and especially the righteous, suffered. So how could this be talking about an individual? The very first verse says, who have believed our report, and to whom is the arm of Yah revealed? That's a question. And you got it's two questions, as a matter of fact. Who believed our report, and to whom is that arm? Who is that arm revealed? And of course, the scriptures let you know the only arm revealed in the scriptures was the very people that Yahweh said will rule his government, who will rule the earth. And let me just show you a couple scriptures on this. The first scripture I want you to see, so you'll know that I'm telling you the truth, is in the book of Isaiah 40. And yes, we're going to do this in 40 minutes or less, because it don't take more than 40 minutes, and oftentimes less, to prove the word of Yahweh. In the book of Isaiah 40, and this is what it says in verse 10 and 11. Behold, Yahweh Elohim will come with strong hand, and his arm shall rule for him. Who is this going to be ruling? Israel. Behold, his reward is with him, and his work before him. He shall feed his flock like a shepherd. He shall gather the lambs with his arm, and carry them in his bosom, and shall gently lead those that are with young. So this arm is like a shepherd. It's like as the scriptures say, a ruler. In the book of Isaiah 51, turn there. Talking about who is this arm revealed. And do you believe this report? And most people don't, because they've been brainwashed to believe that Christ is this suffering servant. In the book of Isaiah 51, this is what it says in verse 5. My righteousness is near. My salvation is gone forth, and my arm shall judge the people. The owl shall wait upon me, and my arm shall they trust. In other words, not only will the arm rule the people, but the arm shall judge the people. And they're going to trust in this arm. And watch what it says in the 9th verse. Awake, awake. Put on strength, O arm of Yahweh. Awake as in the ancient days, in the generations of old. Art thou not it that have cut Rahab and wounded the dragon? Yes, this arm of Yah is exactly what Isaiah 53 says it is. His righteous servant. Because it is his righteous servant that will rule for him. In the book of Isaiah 52, one more thing dealing with the arm of Yahweh. In the book of Isaiah 52, the 10th verse, Yahweh have made bare his holy arm in the eyes of all the nations, and all the ends of the earth shall see the salvation of our Elohim. And who is this arm that Yahweh will make bare? The children of Israel. These are the only people. Matter of fact, these are the only people collectively that is called Yahweh servant. There's individuals that's called that, but not Christ. And the individuals that's called to be his servant, it's not speaking about an individual, period. Because all Yahweh righteous servants have suffered. And just to show you this, in the book of Isaiah 49, turn there, talking about Yahweh's righteous servant, suffering servant, in which Isaiah 53 is speaking about. In the book of Isaiah 49, starting at the very first verse, listen, O isles, unto me. Hearken, ye people from far. Yahweh have called me from the womb. Sound like an individual. But if you don't know the scriptures, you would think it's an individual. He's not talking about an individual at all. And you're going to see that. From the bowels of my mother have he made mention of my name. And he have made my mouth like a sharp sword. In the shadow of his hand have he hid me, and made me a polished shaft. In his quiver have he hid me, and said unto me, Thou art my servant, O Israel, in whom I will be glorified. Israel is Yahweh's servant. Israel is the one that will judge the people. Israel is the one that will rule the people, and not just any Hebrew, but rather his righteous servant, which is a remnant of the nation of Israel. Let's go back to Isaiah 53. And this is what it says in verse 2 and 3. And we're just explaining some of these verses. It says, For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of a dry ground. He hath no form, no comeliness. And when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. For he is despised and rejected of men, man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. I mean, nobody is more despised than Israel. And there's no one that's more undesirable than Israel. Israel is not a desired people. This is not how Christ is spoken of, that he's some undesirable. But Israel is. Watch what it says in the scriptures. In the book of Zephaniah, the 2nd chapter. The very first verse. Zephaniah 2. And watch what this says. The very first verse. Gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired. We've never been a desirable people to anyone. Also in the book of Isaiah 60. This is speaking of a special elect seed of Israel. Isaiah 60. And this is what it says in the 14th verse. The sons also of them that afflicted thee shall come bending unto thee, and all they that despise thee shall bow them down themselves at the soles of thy feet, and they shall call thee the city of Yah, the Zion of the Holy One of Israel. Yeah, we're the most afflicted, we're the most despised, and we're the most undesirable. This is what it says in the 4th verse in Isaiah 53. Just to let you know, this is talking about Israel. Isaiah 53 and 4. Surely have borne our griefs, carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of Elohim, and afflicted. Nobody is more afflicted than Israel. Watch this 5th verse. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. Yes, the Almighty always left a remnant for us. And it was this remnant that the Almighty said he would not destroy everything as long as there was a certain amount of righteous in the midst. Watch what this says to prove this. Just a couple scriptures. One is in the book of Jeremiah, the 14th chapter. And this is what it says in the 19th verse. Hast thou utterly rejected Yehuda? Have thy soul loathed Zion? Why hast thou smitten us, and there is no healing for us? We look for peace, and there is no good, and for the time of healing, and behold, trouble. Yeah, that's Israel. That's nobody else. You also find this in the book of Jeremiah 30. Since we're in Jeremiah, and this is what it says in the 12th verse, Jeremiah 30 and 12. For thus says Yahweh, thy bruise is incurable, because we are the one that's bruised, and thy wound is grievous. There's none to plead thy cause. Thou mayest be bound up. Thou hast no healing medicines. This is Israel. That's who this is. And all through Isaiah 53, every single verse points to Israel. Go back to Isaiah 53 so we can basically finish off the rest. It's only 12 verses, and I just read to you half the verses in Isaiah 53. And let's get to the main play. The main play is the 10th verse, because in Isaiah 53 and 10, this is where they say, this is Christ. It says, yet it pleased Yahweh to bruise. And we just read the one that was bruised was Israel. He had put him to grief. We just read the grief and the grievousness of the wound of Israel. But you notice what it didn't say. Yet it pleased Yah to kill him. He had put him to death. It didn't say nothing about killing nobody and putting nobody to death as the New Testament wants you to believe. Yahweh righteous servant was bruised. He was put to grief. But Yahweh is not about to kill another man for another man, or a man for a nation of people. It says, when thou shalt make it so an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of Yahweh shall prosper in his hand, even though he's put to grief, even though he's bruised. He's not killed. If you kill, how you going to see how you're suffering? How you going to be happy that you're suffering? It says in the 11th verse, he shall see of the travail of his soul. It shall be satisfied. Because he see what's going on, he see what's happening, and he's satisfied because he understands his mission. He understands he's Yahweh's righteous servant, and he will justify many. He understands that. And again, Yahweh have always left a remnant for his people, and not just his people, the world. And let me show you this in the book of Isaiah, the 1st chapter. And why would Yahweh leave a remnant? Yahweh left a remnant to spare other people. And this is how you know many of the people who call themselves studying the Bible don't understand the Bible, because they would know how the Creator works. The Creator will always spare the wicked for the righteous. But Yahweh will never, ever kill the righteous for the wicked. That's why Isaiah 53 is a chapter that highlights the power in being a righteous servant of Yahweh. In the book of Isaiah, the very 1st chapter, this is what it says in the 9th verse. Except Yahweh of hosts had left unto us a very small remnant, we should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah. In other words, Yahweh would have destroyed the whole nation if there wasn't a remnant. And Yahweh would have never left a remnant if this remnant was not righteous. In the book of Ezekiel, the 14th chapter, I just want you to see how Yahweh see this remnant, because this is who he is speaking about in the book of Isaiah 53. This is his suffering servant, his righteous servant, unto whom the arm of Yah revealed. In the book of Ezekiel, the 14th chapter, this is what it says in the 22nd verse. Yet behold, therein shall be left a remnant that shall be brought forth. And why? Well, Yahweh going to show you why. Both sons and daughters, behold, they shall come forth unto you, and ye shall see their way and their doings, and ye shall be comforted concerning the evil that I brought upon Jerusalem, even concerning all that I have brought upon it. And they shall comfort you when ye shall see their ways and their doings, and ye shall know that I have not done without cause all that I have done in it, says Yahweh Elohim. Because Yahweh's righteous servant always stood in the gap, even as Isaiah 53, the 53rd chapter says, made intercession. They are the ones who intercede by their righteousness. And look what the Creator say about his servant and how much he loved his servant in the book of Isaiah, the 42nd chapter. I want you to see how peculiar and how special this servant is. And who is this servant? His righteous servant, the nation of Israel, but a special select seed, elected seed of Israel, called the remnant. In the book of Isaiah 42, starting at the very first verse, this is what it says. Behold, my servant, whom I uphold, my elect, in whom my soul delighteth. I put my spirit upon him. He shall bring forth judgment to the Gentiles. He shall not cry, nor lift up, nor cause his voice to be heard in the street. Christ was heard all over the streets, but not Yahweh's righteous servant. As Isaiah 53 says, a bruised reed shall he not break. The smoking flax shall be not quenched. He shall bring forth judgment unto truth. He shall not fail nor be discouraged till he have set judgment in the earth. And the owls shall wait for his law, because he's the arm of Yahweh that will rule. He's the arm of Yahweh that shall judge. He's the arm of Yahweh revealed. Furthermore, let me finish reading this out a little bit more. Thus says Yah Elohim, he that created the heavens, stretched them out, he that spread forth the earth, and that which cometh out of it, he that giveth breath unto the people upon it, and spirit to them that walk therein. I, Yahweh, have called thee in righteousness, and will hold thy hand, and will keep thee, and give thee for a covenant of the people, for a light of the Gentiles, to open the blind eyes, to bring out the prisoners from the prison, and them that sit in darkness out of the prison house. I am Yahweh, that is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. And Yahweh made that crystal clear. But guess what? Israel was made for the glory of Yahweh. That is who Yahweh said will be the glory. And we know that to be true. And we'll read it again in the book of Isaiah 49. And you're going to see exactly what this suffering servant will do. In the book of Isaiah 49, and we read part of this, but we're going to read this again. The very first verse. Listen, O isles, unto me. Hearken, ye people from far. Yahweh have called me from the womb. From the bowels of my mother have he made mention of my name. He hath made my mouth like a sharp sword. In the shadow of his hand have he hid me. Made me a polished shaft. In his quiver have he hid me. And said unto me, thou art my servant, O Israel, in whom I will be glorified. Then I said, I've labored in vain. I spent my strength for naught and in vain. Yet surely my judgment is with Yah, and my work with my Elohim. And now said Yahweh that formed me from the womb, to be his servant, to bring Jacob again to him. Though Israel be not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of Yahweh, and my Elohim shall be my strength. And he said, it is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore the preserves of Israel. I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles, that thou mayest be my salvation unto the end of the earth. Thus says Yahweh, the Redeemer of Israel, his Holy One, to him whom man despiseth, to him whom the nation abhorreth, to a servant of rulers, kings shall see and arise. Princes also shall worship because of Yahweh, that is faithful, and the Holy One of Israel, and he shall choose thee. And also, Isaiah 52. This is what you want to know about this suffering servant. Because you don't believe or report in what we're saying to you. That Israel is this suffering servant. Israel is this righteous servant. Israel is the arm of Yah revealed. And watch what it says. Starting at the 10th verse. Yahweh have made bare his holy arm in the eyes of all the nations. And all the ends of the earth shall see the salvation of our Elohim. Depart ye, go ye out from this. Touch no unclean thing. Go ye out of the midst of her. Be ye clean that bear the vessels of Yahweh. For ye shall not go out with haste, as we did in Egypt, nor go by flight, as they began to do once we was out of Egypt. For Yahweh will go before you, and the Elohim of Israel will be your reward. Behold, my servant shall deal prudently. He shall be exalted and extolled, and be very high, as many were astonished at thee. His vices were so marred more than any man, and his form more than the sons of man. So shall he sprinkle many nations. Who? Israel. The kings shall shut their mouths at him, for that which had not been told them shall they see, and that which they have not heard shall they consider. Yahweh used for an offering of sin, and you'll read this in the book of Isaiah 66. And this is what it says. The 20th verse. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto Yahweh out of all nations, upon horses, and in chariots, and in litters, and upon mules, and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain Jerusalem, says Yahweh. As the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of Yahweh. Yahweh, suffering servant. The nation of Israel, his righteous servant. Until our next program, Yahweh love you, and so do I. Shalom.